Hi, how's everyone tonight? I'm going to be reading Lady Raven, which is one of the stories in my new book, Beneath the Raven's Wing. Before I start, I want to thank Baycorp Publishing for publishing the book. It arrives tomorrow. And before I start, I also want to mention that a group of ravens is called an unkindness. So when I use that word, that's what I'm referring to, a group of ravens. Lady Raven. The ravens recognized her face. Even with a knit cap pulled low enough to cover her ears, the corvids bobbed their heads, croaked, and raised their wings as Raylin stepped out the door. "I've no bread to give you," she called to the unkindness, which wasn't the truth. "Magic will have to wait a little longer," thought Raylin, as she turned around and went back inside. Amused by the raven's brashness, she grabbed a bag of bread crusts, day-old popcorn, stale sunflower seed hearts, and half-eaten muffins. After patting the top of her head to make certain her hat hadn't shifted, Raylin walked out of her cottage once more. The ravens resumed their cacophony. A few bold members of the unkindness swooped down. They landed at her feet. "You can't be that hungry," she told the 5 corvids who strutted like a quintet of black-suited morticians beside her. One raven hopped in front of Raylin. Like a demanding child, it said, "Ma?" "I'm not your mother, my friend," she responded, "though I might seem to be from your point of view." The 5 some inched closer. They studied her with bright eyes as she talked. "You're such dears." She said as she reached her hand inside the sack. "I can't deny you a snack any longer." Raylin dropped 3 fistfuls of the breadcrumb mixture at her feet for the most audacious corvids. Then she tossed handfuls of the raven food onto the nearby grass for the shyer members of the unkindness. When the bag was empty, she stuffed it into her jacket's pocket. Stepping carefully around the birds as they gulped their snack, Raylin hiked into the forest. Footfalls muffled by a thick layer of pine needles, she breathed in the scent of trees, ferns, moss, rotting logs, and earth. She smiled. Today seemed a perfect day for her first transformation. Reaching a clearing next to the headwaters of an icy stream, which wound through the woods, below a stone bridge, then tumbled into Cobble Creek, Raylin removed 3 candles from her right pocket. Next, she pulled a book of matches and a bundle of black feathers from her left pocket. "Courage," she told herself, as a raven winged his way to the clearing. He landed beside her. "Ma?" said the bird. Raylin shook her head but didn't correct the corvid. Instead, she placed the candles in a triangle shape inside a mushroom circle, which had sprouted in the clearing. Second, she removed her hat, allowing 2 braids adorned with crow and raven feathers to tumble down. Third, she shrugged off her coat to reveal an ebony dress. Fourth, she lit the candles while chanting. "Stirred by wild winds within, without, deep magic caused feathers to sprout, and let my changeling wings spread out." Next, Raylin unbound the bundle. She placed a corvid feather between each of her fingers. Finally, kneeling before the candles upon the last feather, she closed her eyes, spread her arms, and focused on the air swirling around her. She whispered the spell once more before surrendering to the whirlwind. When Raylin opened her eyes, the raven who'd spoken to her moments before said, "Sister?" "Yes," Raylin Raven answered. "I'm a sister with a mission." For natural-born ravens, flight was instinctual. For Raylin, It required her to recall the basics of flight when she chose to wear raven skin. First is lift, she thought. Using strong chest muscles, she flapped her wide, beautifully feathered wings. She knew the shape of her wing caused air to move more quickly over the curved top surface, thereby reducing the air pressure above the wing. In addition, the tilted angle of her wings deflected air downward. As she flapped, she rose from the ground. Next is thrust, she thought. Moving her wings in a motion almost like swimming, she propelled herself forward. As for the pull of gravity, it was all about weight. A beak weighed less than jaws and teeth. Feathers were lightweight. Most importantly, raven bones were honeycombed throughout with pockets of air. But unlike the rest of her unkindness, Raylan's bones were filled not with just air, but with magic. The raven who'd observed her transformation joined her on the highest branch of a towering oak in Raylan's yard. He summoned his 4 companions to join them. Using raven speak, Raylan explained to the corvids the problem and her plan to solve it. I saw 6 teenagers bullying children on the playground. They knocked the younger kids down, broke their toys, and took their snacks. The dark quintet muttered their dismay. I witnessed the teens trip a little boy. Then they kicked him several times while he lay crying beside the seesaw, said Raylan Raven. The 5 natural-born ravens clacked their beaks. I went over to the teens. I asked them to stop, she told the unkindness. But their leader said, mind your own business. After kicking the child again, he added, or you're next. The corvids Raylan gave breadcrumbs to every day shook their heads. His comrades stepped closer to me. They repeated, you next. Then one of the teams added, you better not mess with us. Tig and his crew don't put up with interfering. The unkindness croaked softly. Raylan Raven tilted her head in the direction of the elementary school. I'm going to the playground to deal with Tig. The other teens are followers. If I can frighten him away from the children, his friends will leave as well. But I need help. The quintet squawked their desire to help Raylan. Then it's settled, said Raylan, as she leaped into the air. Using the branch's height and gravity to her advantage, she flew towards the playground with just a few flaps of her wings. Raylan Raven alighted on one of the monkey bars in time to see Tig and his friends shove a girl off the sliding board ladder. Stop, she shouted, shocked to hear a bird speak. The teens left the girl alone long enough for her to run to the swings. A talking blackbird. Now there's something you don't see every day, said Tig. Maybe we ought to catch it. Raylan knew he'd be the first one to move against her. Or kill it, he added. Tig bent over to pick up a stone. Raylan Raven croaked a distress call. Her unkindness responded in kind. She knew ravens and crows defend their territories. She also knew when a fellow corvid was in trouble, ravens, crows, and blackbirds would sometimes come to the assistance of a bird outside their family circle. Fortunately, today many corvids answered Raylan's call. With Raylan Raven in the lead, the growing throng of corvids mobbed the teens. They dive-bombed Tig and his comrades, chasing them not only from the playground, but down the street. Determined to halt the bullying of younger children, Raylan Raven relentlessly pursued Tig. When he broke off from his friends, she pecked him on his head several times before shouting, do not return. If you do, I will claw out your eyes. Then, with teens dispersed and warning issued, Raylan and her unkindness returned to the playground. Joined by other corvids who'd answered the distress call, they continued raucous croaks and reconnaissance flights for another hour. Using her best raven speak, Raylan thanked the ravens, crows, and blackbirds who'd helped. Many corvids promised to patrol the area and keep an eye out for trouble. Task completed, Raylan and her unkindness winged their way toward her cottage. The natural-born ravens flew with the same vigor they had in the morning. Raylan did not. Exhausted by the energy needed to unleash transformation magic, maintain raven shape, and fly, she was barely able to stay aloft. Seeing her falter, the 5 ravens she fed every day took turns flying beneath her. The quintet did their best to bear some of her weight. At last, Raylan and her unkindness landed in the mushroom circle. Too weak to stand, she laid on her side in the soft soil of the clearing. The natural-born ravens raised their wings. With wingtip touching wingtip, they formed a circle around Raylan Raven, vocalizing a complicated chorus of beak-clacks, croaks, and cries. They slowly moved in a clockwise direction. The quintet was still singing their raven song when Raylan slipped into unconsciousness. Thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed the beginning of that story. There's not too much more to go, but there's a little bit more. And once again, I'd like to thank the publisher of my new book, Beneath Raven's Wings, Baycourt Publishing, and tomorrow is the release day, and also invite you to join us for the publication party at 7 p.m. on January 30th. Thanks again.